Humans, welcome to Read to Me, Matt Dunn. I'm Matt Dunn, and I'm going to read to you. Today, we have The Color Out of Space, Part 2. Now, Part 1 was a little rough. Let's see if we can make it to Part 2. I'm not used to so much depth in one word. And H.P. Lovecraft is just full of it. Good stuff. It was then that I heard the story. And as the rambling voice scraped and whispered on, I shivered again and again, despite the summer day. Often I had to recall the speaker from ramblings, piece out scientific points which he knew only by a faded parrot memory of professors' talk, or bridge over gaps where his sense of logic and continuity broke down. When he was done, I did not wonder that his mind, When he was done, I did not wonder that his mind had snapped a trifle, or that the folk of Arkham would not speak much of the blasted heath. I hurried back before sunset to my hotel, unwilling to have the stars come out above me in the open, and the next day returned to Boston to give up my position. I could not go into that dim chaos of old forest and slope again, or face another time that great blasted heath where the black well yawned deep beside the tumbled bricks and stones. The reservoir will soon be built now, and all those elder secrets will be safe forever under watery fathoms. But even then, I do not believe I would like to visit that country by night. At least, not when the sinister stars are out, and nothing could bribe me to drink the new city water of Arkham. It all began, old Amy said, with the meteorite. Before that time, there had been no wild legends at all since the witch trials, and even then these western woods were not feared half so much as the small island in the Miskatonic, where the devil held court besides a curious stone altar older than the Indians. These were not haunted woods, and their fantastic dusk was never terrible till the strange days. Then there had come that white noontide cloud, that string of explosion in the air, and that pillar of smoke from the valley far in the wood. And by night all Arkham had heard of the great rock that fell out of the sky and bedded itself in the ground beside the well at the Nahum Gardner place. That was the house which had stood where the blasted heath was to come, the trim white Nahum Gardner house amidst its fertile gardens and orchids. Nahum. Maybe it's Nahum, Nahum, Nahum had come to town to tell people about the stone and had dropped in at Amy Pierce's on the way. Amy was 40 then, and all the queer things were fixed very strongly in his mind. He and his wife had gone with the 3 professors from Miskatonic University. Miskatonic University, who hastened out the next morning to see the weird visitor from unknown stellar space, and had wondered why Nahum had called it so large the day before. It had shrunk, Nahum said as he pointed out the big brownish mound above the ripped earth and charred grass near the archaic well. Sweep in his fucking face. It had shrunk, Nahum said, as he pointed out the big brownish mound above the ripped earth and charred grass near the archaic well sweep in his front yard. But the wise man answered that stones do not shrink. Oh, you're a scientist now, are you? It come from space, and now you say it don't shrink. Well, good for you. Its heat lingered persistently, and Nahum declared it had glowed faintly in the night. The professor tried it with a geologist's hammer and found it was oddly soft. It was, in truth, so soft as to be almost plastic, and they gouged rather than chipped a specimen to take back to the college for testing. They took it in an old pail pail. Not like I'm pale, but as in a pail. You get that? I get it. I get it just like I get you. I don't. Oh, they took it in a pail and then a okay. They took it in an old pail, borrowed from Nahum's kitchen. Nahum. Man, I have to come up with a better name for that guy. Let's call him Nam Nam. They took it from Nam Nam's kitchen, for even the small piece refused to grow cool. You couldn't cool it down, I guess. On the trip back, they stopped at Ammy's to rest. They got Nammy. I'm gonna call them Nammy and Ammy. Got it? Ammy, Nammy. The dogs get it. They stopped at Ammy's to rest and seemed thoughtful when Mrs. Pierce remarked that the fragment was growing smaller and burning the bottom of the pail. Truly, it was not large, but perhaps they had taken less than they thought. I'm just dumb. Who knows what they did back then? The day after that, all this was in June of '82, the professors had trooped out again in a great excitement. Remember, 1882. 1882. The professors had trooped out again in a great excitement as they passed Ammy's. They told him what queer things that specimen had done and how it had faded wholly away when they put it in a glass beaker. The beaker had gone too, and the wise men talked of strange stones' affinity for silicon. It had acted quite unbelievably in that well-ordered laboratory, doing nothing at all and shewing no occluded gases when heated in charcoal, being wholly negative in the borax bead, and soon proving itself absolutely non-volatile at any producible temperature, including that of the oxyhydrogen blowpipe. On an anvil, it appeared highly malleable, and in the dark, its luminosity was very marked. Stubbornly refusing to grow cool, it soon had the college in a state of real excitement. And when upon heating before the spectroscope, it displayed shining bands unlike any known colors of the normal spectrum. There was much breathless talk of new elements, bizarre optical properties, and other things which puzzled men of science are wont to say when faced by the unknown. The unknown, it is out there every day, and then today it won't be unknown because yesterday something. Hey, the internet was unknown at one point. It's inconceivable. But hot as it was, they tested it in a crucible with all the proper regents, with all the proper regions. Water did nothing. Hydrochloric acid was the same. Nitric acid and even aqua regia merely hissed and spattered against its torrid invulnerability. Amy had difficulty in recalling all these things, but recognized some solvents as I mentioned them in usual order of use. There were ammonia and caustic soda, alcohol and ether, nauseous carbon disulfide, and a dozen others. But although the weight grew steadily less as time passed, and the fragment seemed to be slightly cooling, there was no change in the solvents to shew that they had attacked the substance at all. It was a metal, though beyond a doubt it was magnetic. For one thing, after its immersion in the acid solvents, there seemed to be faint traces of the Widmanstanton figures found in meteoric iron. Okay, so let me read that one again. Yeah. It was magnetic, for one thing. After its immersion in the solvent. Okay, so like this is why they say it's a metal. It was magnetic for one thing. And after its immersion in the acid solvents, there seemed to be faint traces of the Widmanstanton figures found on meteoric iron. I don't know what Widmanstanton figures are, but it's clearly a German word. Widmanstanton. When the cooling had grown very considerable, the testing was carried on in glass. That makes sense. It was in a glass beaker that they left all the chips made of the original fragment during the work. The next morning, both chips and beaker were gone without a trace, and only a charred spot marked the place on the wooden shelf where they had been. Gone. Gone, gone, gone. Gone, 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 gone. Gone, gone, gone. Where could they have gone to? Man, I got a lot more to read. Let's keep going. Let's do another half page or so. Let's do this half page. We'll get to the bottom of the book. What is going on with this meteor? All this the professor told Amy was as they paused at this door, and once more he went with them to see the stony messenger from the stars, though this time his wife did not accompany him. It had now, then period, I'm going to start a new sentence. It had now most certainly shrunk, and even the sober professors could not doubt the truth of what they saw. All round the dwindling brown lump near the well was a vacant space where the earth had caved in, and whereas it had been a good 7 feet across the day before, it was now scarcely 5. It was still hot, and the sages studied its surface curiously as they detached another and large piece with a hammer and chisel. They gouged deeply this time, and as they pried away the smaller mass, they saw that the core of the thing was not quite homogeneous. They had uncovered what seemed to be the side of a large colored globule embedded in the substance. The color, which resembled some of the bands in the meteor's strange spectrum, was almost impossible to describe. And it was only by analogy, analogy, let's just say analogy. That sounds better than analogy. Analogy. And it was only by an analogy that they called it color at all. Its texture was glossy, and upon tapping it appeared to promise both brittleness and hollowness. One of the professors gave it a smart blow with a hammer, and it burst with a nervous little pop. Nothing was emitted, and all traces of the thing vanished with the puncturing. If left behind a hollow spherical space above 3 inches across and all, if nothing, okay, nothing was emitted, nothing was emitted, and all traces of the thing vanished with the puncture. It left behind a hollow spherical space about 3 inches across, and all thought it probable that others would be discovered as the enclosing substance wasted away. So I guess that wasn't like a core, but maybe like pieces, whatever. Conjecture was vain, so after a futile attempt to find additional globules by drilling, the seekers left again with their new specimen, which proved, however, as baffling in the laboratory as its predecessors had been. Aside from being almost plastic, having heat, magnetism, and slight luminosity, cooling slightly in powerful acids, possessing an unknown spectrum, wasting away in air, and attacking silicone compounds with mutual destruction as a result, it presented no identifying features whatsoever. And at the end of the test, the college scientists were forced to own that they could not place it. It was nothing of this earth, but a piece of the great outside, and as such dowered with outside properties and obedient to outside laws. Yadada, yadada, yalala, shakaka. Wow. Quite an interesting tale. What is this thing that's come from space? Truly, I would not trust anything that just come from space. You can't just start cracking into things. You don't know. You can't just fucking do things. We're in a stable environment. You can't just start breaking things from another environment. Anyway, that's why people die in situations like this. They go and fuck themselves over by touching aliens and stuff. Who knows? It's got to be alien. I call it alien because it's from another fucking place out. You can't just... If you want me to read more, please check out more of my videos. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And join me for part 3 in this wonderful world of H.P. Lovecraft.